All right, so this week what we're going to do is edit a photo. So it has to be of a person, and you want to edit it, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques, a little bit on the more professional end, using a little bit more advanced stuff. So I'm just going to use this old wedding photo I have. I had a student, he said, oh, he goes, oh, that's not a picture of your wedding. He's like, that's a picture of the last time your wife smiled, which I thought was a great burn. So anyway, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take a photo of this. So, first thing that we want to do is this. We're just gonna go ahead and make it 6x9 because that's what we always do. So I'm gonna do go to the crop tool with height 9x6. I'm gonna hit swap that around, and it is already 6x9. Now normally what you want to do is try to cut as close to the subject matter as you can, unless for some reason, well, unless the environment is part of the subject matter. So I'm going to cut in a little bit closer. It also depends on the resolution of the image. So if it's high enough resolution, then cut in. But if you're running at lower pixels, you might not want to do that. And I think this is right on the cusp. Anyway, so I'm just going to cut in there. That looks fine. And then the next thing we always do when we're doing photo editing is duplicate it, right? So I'm going to hit Control J with the layer selected, or you right click, duplicate layer, or you can click and drag it down on top of the plus, but either way. So I'm just going to rename this original image, okay? And I'm just going to lock it, all right? And that way, if I need to get back to whatever, I have it there, right? Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer and we're going to duplicate this twice, or duplicate it one more time, okay? So we're going to call this one color, and we're going to call this one texture. All right. So here's what we're going to do, just so you get the idea. The problem that we have is this. A lot of times when we are editing photos, and you've seen this, oh God, I hate it. Okay, let's use hers, she's a little bit better. You'll see this kind of look where people will try to smooth out like a face, right? And like, oh yeah, that's much smoother. But, well, minus the whatever. The problem is with doing that is it gives it a very airbrushed look, right? And I remember when I was younger, we had a family photo done. My mom paid, the church was having these family photos done, and she paid good money. And they took really nice photos, but then you could pay a little bit extra, and they would actually Photoshop them as well, which is cool. Well, when we got the photos back, basically all of her freckles were gone, and I think she found it kind of offensive because, as you could tell, she's more freckles than person. So it was just very strange. So a lot of times what happens when you do that sort of this isn't a great photo, but I'm not a photographer, so I don't have a bunch of really good photos. But when you see the airbrush look, it just looks very plastic because they get rid of the texture. What we're going to do is what we call high frequency separation. And the idea here is that we're going to separate the color from the texture. And that'll allow me to basically adjust one or the other without interfering with one. So, for instance, it would allow me to basically keep her freckles while still adjusting her. Although I'm not going to do any adjustments on her because I know better. I'm just going to work on this one, okay? So you can just ignore that. But whatever you're working on, you can do the same thing. All right, so I'm going to turn this top layer off, and for some reason the name didn't stick, so let's try that again. All right. And we're going to select the bottom one, the color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian. Or Gaussian, I don't know what I call it, Gaussian. Okay. And when I want to blur this enough that it gets rid of all the detail, but not so much that it's super duper fuzzy. So looking at this is a bit too much. I want to lose the texture, but keep the color. So this is going to be different depending on your image, so don't go by oh, I gotta type in 1.8. Yours might be different. I'm just trying to make sure that it's blurry enough, but not crazy. All right, and then we'll hit OK. Okay, so now you see it's blurry. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this layer above it on, the texture layer, okay? We're gonna do a little bit something different here, a little bit of magic, okay? So you're gonna go to Image, Apply Image, and we're obviously on the Wet Adjust image. The channel, we want, I don't know why it's merged, but we want the color. Basically, we're going to compare this layer to this layer here, okay? And then I want the blending mode, I want you to choose subtract, okay? All right, and then the last thing to do is scale to offset 128, okay? And what that's going to do is it's basically going to look at this layer in comparison to this layer, and then it's going to basically make the difference of them between the original image and this blurry image. And all that's going to be left is going to be basically the textured part. Now, you might wonder how I got 2 and 128. I don't know. I just found that number. I followed a tutorial just like you're doing, and those are the numbers that to use. Someone smarter than me came up with what those are. All right, but those are the numbers that you want. So you do that, and then it should look kind of gray like this, and you'll hit OK. Okay. So now if you look, I have this color layer and I have this texture layer, but they don't. We need to combine them in a way. So with the texture layer selected, we're going to change the blending mode to linear light. Okay, now I just want to show you, I'm going to turn this layer off. Actually, we'll go like this. I'll turn this one on, right? Is it control? I thought it was alt, was it? Maybe it's not? Okay, well, so you see what the picture looks like here? Now watch, this is what they look like combined. So you can see, without this layer, it becomes blurry, and without this, it's just black and white. So these two combine now. In essence, what I've done is I've separated the texture from the color, and that's basically what we are after, okay? Okay, so now what we're going to do is go to our color layer here, and we are going to try and fix some things, okay? So I'm mostly just going to concentrate on the face here, because the face is what needs the most work, let's be honest. All right, so on this layer here, I'm just going to go ahead and try to basically clean up a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go to my healing tools. Am I on the right? Oh, see, I'm on painting. That's why. Make sure you're on essentials here. I'm going to go to my healing tools, and then I'm just going to try spot healing initially just to see if I can get away with that. And try to, actually, I don't like spot healing. We do a regular healing brush. And what I'm going to do is, so I got this redness here, right? So I'm going to sample, let's say, here, and I'm just going to brush in here. And let's try that again because that didn't work so well. Like that. You can see I got rid of the redness, but notice that this isn't a great photo, but notice that those wrinkles, the line wrinkles, are still there, right? So there's a bit of redness right here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and then we'll just replace it. I'm sorry, we're going to sample this, and then see, that's too far off. Something that would go there. Let's see, maybe down here, and then we're just going to brush this in, and you can see I got rid of that redness and some of the imperfections and such. So I'm just going to try and get rid of like really big bad areas like that. Okay, let's try the spot healing brush now. And you can see like there's a little bump here, so I'm going to try and see. I didn't really fix it. There's a little bit of red there. I might not like some of the other areas here. So see there's a little bit of a dot there. Okay. You can see I kind of can get rid of like the little areas this way. Alright. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is use the patch tool. And I'm going to try and do larger areas. So you see like there's quite a bit of shine here that I'm not a big fan of. So what I'm going to do is grab that shiny area, and I'm going to grab the area above it, and that will get rid of the overly shininess. And let's say we grab a little bit of this, and we'll just pull it down to get rid of that a little bit. I don't really like that. Let's undo that. Alright, and then that's just kind of, that's not a great looking area, so it's like that. Just trying to get rid of blemishes and make them a little bit less strong. Okay. Like in here, this is just very shiny. Like that. We'll just kind of pull it over here. Just kind of trying to even it out, if you will, so it's not so stark. And it's a little blotchy here as well, so let's try taking this and put this up here, and then we'll take this and put this here. A little bit of a weirdness there. Let's see if we can bring that up there. Just trying to even it out. A little bit of, I'm a big fan of this. Let's try to pull that down there. Okay, so kind of cleaning that up a little bit. That's mildly successful. Okay, let's do another thing here. So if you look, a big part of what I was trying to do is get rid of some of this redness, right? So another thing I can do is, because I have this separated on a separate thing here, is I can grab this and I can get rid of some of this redness. So I'm going to go to my adjustment layers here, okay? And we're going to go ahead and do hue saturation. All right, what I want to do is I want to target the reds and basically mute them just because they're too strong. Like the ear's too red and it's a little bit red in here, and you know, I got a lot of like acne and stuff. I was young and full of life at that point. So in order to target it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to reds instead of master, okay? And then you'll be able to see if I take saturation down, it's just going to pull all my reds out evenly, which isn't really what I want to do. So what I want to do is this. I want to target just the worst reds. So I'm actually going to push saturation all the way up, okay? And then down here, basically, it shows what it's targeting and how much it's targeting. So I'm going to click in the middle here, and I'm going to pull to the, let me see, it's very slow. Okay, to the left a little bit. So I target just the worst of my reds. So we'll say something like that, okay? Now I can also adjust the feathering here so that it grabs a little bit less. We'll go with that. That's fine. We'll go with that, okay? Now, with that, I can go through and actually pull this down. Looks like I'm wearing lipstick. Pull this down a little bit, and that will mute the red so it's not so strong, okay? So without it and with it, just want to do real subtle. Don't want to go too crazy. Okay, and then we'll that's good. So what I'm going to do also though is I'm going to select the mask, and the lips just look a little bit pale to me now, so I'm just going to go ahead and paint black. We'll do a lower opacity, and we want to paint black. I'm just going to try and paint some of it off of, let's do the opacity higher, it's too low for me. Paint some of the red off of the lips here, just so the lips stay a little bit more vibrant, okay? But that way at least it lowered that a little bit, so it's not such harsh red hot spots, okay? Now some of the things I did here, I can also do up here. So if there's like little bits and stuff I want to get rid of, I can do that. So I'm going to go to my texture, and I'll start with the spot healing. And let's say I just want to remove that. I can click on that dot, and that's gone. You see it's a little bit here, so I'm going to click on that, and then I'll remove that. And we can get rid of any of these little imperfections I'm not such a fan of. All right? So any of the kind of imperfect little wrinkles and stuff that you don't really like, we can basically remove in that texture layer. So this is good for getting rid of some of that acne that you may have. So it's going to kind of get rid of those little bumps and bruises. The idea is to try and, you know, do the best version of yourself, but still a version of yourself. You don't want to make it not look like the person, because that could be, you know what I mean. Everyone's an individual snowflake, and it's your imperfections that generally your loved one that will actually like about you, not the perfect part. Okay, so yeah, that looks pretty okay. I'm trying to think what else I want to do. Let's do this. So we got that. We did that. Probably use a bit more smoothness, but we'll do this other thing. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna merge these layers. So I'm gonna select this one and this one. I'm just gonna right click and merge layers. Okay, so now it becomes one. Now, a neat little trick that you can do. So one thing that I have really bad that you probably have noticed is I have pretty big bags, right? My brothers used to call me Bilbo, like Bilbo Baggins, because they're cruel. Anyway, so basically what I want to do is I want to take this off here, right? So the problem is, though, let's go ahead. I'm going to grab the patch tool. Is that if I go like this, and let's say I grab this bag and I pull it down underneath, is that it looks weird, right? It's a little too strong. I want to do something more halfway. Well, what you can do is this. So undo. I could grab this, right? The bag here, and pull it down here. And then we could go to View, Turn Off Extra, or Control H. Now watch. If you go to Edit, and I only turn that off just so it's not in the way, otherwise you can't see what you're doing. If you go to Edit, I think it's on Edit, it should be Fade. Where are you? Yeah, Fade Patch. It'll say Fade and then whatever it is. That's why I always can't find it. Fade Patch Selection. And what that'll allow us to do is that if 100% opacity looks just like it is, but watch, if I do 0, it'll be like I didn't do anything. And if I go somewhere in the middle, it'll basically fade it in and out. See what I'm saying? So you can kind of balance how much you want to do. So I hit OK, and then I'll do this one. This one's a little bit stronger. So grab this guy, pull this one down, right? And then I'm just going to hit Control H, and then what was it? Control Shift F? Shift Control F. Yep. Okay. And then I'm just going to again do this, and I'm going to find, you know, where it is good, and we'll say 40% because I'd rather be more youthful. Okay, we'll hit OK. Now this is the thing that's neat with this is that this isn't patch specific. Like watch, I can take a brush and go like this. Control D. So the problem is when you have the extras off, I couldn't tell that I was still selected. So I could do a brush like this, and then watch, I can do Control Shift F, and I can fade that. The fade works with everything. So I don't care what the effect is. If you want to like do the effect but then like balance it, keep that hotkey, that Control Shift F, and you go, oh, and then you can just quickly like, oh, too much, too little, and you can find the spot and then just hit OK. So that's a really nice little trick that you can honestly apply to pretty much everything, not just this one aspect. Okay. So that looks okay. So another thing I might want to do is just adjust the overall skin. And to do that, we can just go to Select, Color Range. And instead of, now you could do sampled colors and you could sample your person. And then you adjust the fuzziness for basically what would inevitably be the threshold. They also do have, which is an easy button, skin tones. And basically it will look for skin. So we'll pull this down until it's just the skin that's selected. Go like that, hit OK. And now it's just my skin that's selected, and I can go ahead and do some adjustment layers. Let me see, what do we got here? Let's do vibrance, right? And I could add a little bit of vibrance to this and saturation to give me just a bit, a little bit, come on, a little more vibrance, just to give me a little more pop, right? You can see it just looks more alive with the vibrance, if you will. Okay, so yay, that looks better. Let's go ahead, I'm just going to merge that down. And then the last thing I want to do with this is basically, now this one is the thing that I would maybe not do depending on the person and things. But I'm going to do it on me because why not? So I'm going to have that layer selected, and I'm going to go to Filter, Liquify. Now if you remember, hang on a second. What Liquify does is it basically will allow you to smush it. Smush, right? Which is super fun. But you can actually use this a little bit more specifically. So they do have this face liquefy thing, and you can go to eyes. Apparently, this is supposed to be improved as to what it was last time. So you could go, I want my one eye bigger, or I want my other eye bigger, right? So I do that one. Eye height. Woo. I didn't really do much. Eye width. Eye tilt. Let's see. Oh yeah. So you can do all this stuff. Anyway, it's more fun to play with. The problem is whenever you use anything that's automated like this, I don't really particularly am a huge fan of it, because the more automated something is, less control you have over it. I mean, they do have sliders on it, but I don't find it particularly super useful. So I like to just do it manually. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. But do be aware that if you want to try this, you can try this stuff. I just have not found it particularly useful myself. Okay, so one of the things that can kind of determine whether someone is attractive or not is face symmetry. Okay, and the reason for that is that when you are gestating, when you're in your mama's belly, determining how healthy you are, one of the factors that can create whether you are more symmetrical in the face is how healthy you are in the womb. So the less healthy, like if your mom got really sick or something or have you, can actually affect that, right? So that's why when we see people and we see symmetry in the face, it shows that obviously their lineage, right, has more symmetry and, more likely to be healthy babies and things like that, okay? Now, if you look at me, you can see my mom was a smoker, so I'm gonna try and adjust the symmetry a little bit on it to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so now I could just go, but you can see how it's warping all the backgrounds and things like that. So, and I honestly really highly suggest that you guys go online and look up like photoshopped of like actresses and actors and models and things, and you're gonna see like one of the main things they always do is they go with the eyes, because the eyes are slightly, the first thing you look at are the eyes, and they're slightly asymmetrical, and they'll fix them when they Photoshop it, which to some degree is okay, but this, like I said, I would do this stuff. I'd be a little bit careful about doing this if you're doing it for somebody. But anyways, I'm gonna grab the mask here, and what this allows me to do is that I can paint out what I don't want to be affected. So in this case, I want to grab my eye here, and I want to move that up, right? But I want to make sure that nothing else gets selected. So I'm just going to kind of mask all this area around it just to make sure that only the eye can be grabbed. Now I'm going to grab my warp tool here. Now we can do the size here, right? But we can also do that with just the greater, or not the greater than, the two bracket keys like brush size. But there's also this density. So the density, the way it works is that if you go really low, it's only going to grab from the center. See how it's really sharp in the center? And then fade out. If you go really high, it's going to go all the way to the outside, more or less. See how it's kind of more rounded now? So we want to do this pretty high, because I kind of want to do the whole area here. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull this eye up just a little bit. Not too crazy. Okay? And let's go like that. Okay. We'll say it like that. Next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear my mask, okay? And another thing, if you look at my dad, he always had a beard. And then I found out why. It's because he has no jawline. And I have thusly also inherited such things. That's why I always keep this kind of rough stubble thing, because I can shave a beard line, or a jawline. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and mask this too. So I'm just going to go like this. So, because what you don't want to end up with, and I'm sure you've seen it, where you see like a guy or a girl and they warp, we don't need the chin affected either, they'll warp their bodies or whatever, but then like the walls all, right? This will just help prevent that by basically masking that out. So again, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to lower this just a little bit, more closer to middle, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit more of a jawline, right? And give myself the looks my parents couldn't. There we go. Okay. That looks acceptable, and then we'll hit OK. Great. So a little bit more symmetry, a little bit more of that. One of the things I cannot stand, and I know this is wrong to do this, but it just annoys me. So I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to Alt and just put a There, just so that way there's 2. I just can't stand it. I don't know why. She's got 2. Why can't I have 2? It's because I got these camel lashes. It's covering up my specular highlight. Okay. So, from there, what I would do is do a lot of the usual things, like go through and maybe you could fade the background out more, clean up some other things. But you'll see this is what it is now, and this is what it was, right? Ready for the stage, Quasimodo, right? So, but you can see it's got a lot more life to it. There's a little bit more, like I said, the jawline thing, the liquefy thing, you might want to be a little bit careful about, depending on what you're doing. And I would honestly spend a lot more time on it personally. But I got rid of a lot of the blemishes. You can see like it doesn't have some of the shine and stuff like that. What you want to do is you want to Photoshop things in a way that people can't tell that they were Photoshopped. But if they were to see the original, they'd be like, oh my God, you did a lot. But if they notice it, then you've gone way too far. Most of the time, I would tell you, when you're doing your projects, go way too far and then come back if you have to. It's better to like try and explore, and you know what I mean, you might come up with something really cool and then, if you then come back. With this, I would say generally it's better to be safe. Okay? Don't go crazy with it because it won't look good. And particularly if you're doing it for somebody, you'll find that they might notice it, and you know what I mean. It isn't good. It's actually interesting. There was this article I had read, and they showed I don't know why they showed, but it was they did it for like Mother's Day or something, where they took a bunch of moms and they had them they took photos of them and then they photoshopped them for themselves, and then when they showed them, and all of them, when they showed them their Photoshop versions versus the original, they all actually liked the original version better than the Photoshop version, which I thought was nice and gives me a little bit of hope for humanity. So anyway, but what you want to do for this assignment is more or less just take a photo of yourself or a photo you have of yourself or somebody else, and Photoshop it. Basically do a photo editing, do the best version you can. You could do like a family portrait, we're getting around Thanksgiving time. You could do something for Christmas, or Valentine's Day. It's a ways away. Something like that. But you can follow these things that I've done right here as you see them. It's totally fine. But feel free to go and look for other stuff as well. Most of the stuff that I showed you here, I actually got from this site. Stop it. Come on. There it goes. Flern. Basically, it's just a YouTube channel, and they have like a subscription service that they basically have just a whole reservoir of all these tutorials, and they're all based on like professional practices and stuff. Just really amazing, awesome stuff for editing people and things like that. So how to cut hair out. So like they took a person who's got very lots of strands of hair and stuff like that, which is really difficult to do. A lot of times you'll see people, they'll have somebody like their hair's in a ponytail. It's like, well, that's easy because it's flat. So like this one's hard, but it's all these professional. They're super useful. So I would suggest looking through these, and you might have something in yours that you need that I didn't cover. These will have them in there. They're an awesome, like I said, all the stuff that they're using is professional. And more or less what I was doing in mine was pretty much stuff that I got from them. So they'll probably be better at teaching it. So, but with less self-deprecating humor, I'm assuming. So anyway, that's what you want to do. So if you want to check out that YouTube channel or other YouTube channels, you can look stuff up. But hopefully this gives you an idea of like what's possible. But like I said, it's a balancing act between those two things, like how much you want to push something, versus stay true to the original. And I would say stay true to the original because that's just better. It's more honest. Art is about honesty, and I feel like that's what you want to do. All right. So anyway, good luck. If you need any help or have any questions, let me know. This is the last week of next week is finals. So basically, or is the final class. So this is like the last thing that we're our last kind of regular class anyway. All right. So we still have class next week, but just be ready to go. Think of what you want to do for your final project. All right. So bye-bye.